Frozen in fear, the Dyatlov Pass mystery. On a cold, wind-swept slope in the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia, 9 experienced hikers vanished under circumstances so strange, so haunting, that their story still chills the bones of anyone who hears it. Their bodies were found mutilated, frozen, and scattered, as if fleeing from something unspeakable. What happened on that mountain? And why, more than 60 years later, do we still not know? This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident, Russia's most infamous and enduring real-life horror mystery. Chapter 1. The hike begins January 1959. The Soviet Union is deep in winter. A group of 10 students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute set off on a skiing expedition across the icy northern Urals. Their goal, to reach Mount Oterten, a remote, frigid peak whose name in the local Mansi language means "don't go there." The group was experienced, disciplined, and led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. Among them were engineers, athletes, and outdoor survivalists. On January 27th, they began their trek. One member, Yuri Yudin, turned back due to illness, a decision that would save his life. 10 entered the wild. Only one ever returned. Chapter 2. The final camp. On February 1st, the group set up camp on the eastern slope of Kolatsyakhl, known ominously as Dead Mountain by the Mansi people. Strangely, they chose an exposed, icy area rather than the nearby forest, which would have offered shelter. Why? Some believe they wanted to train in harsh conditions. Others say they were already being watched. The group made no further contact. Weeks passed. Families grew anxious. A search team was dispatched. What they found would become one of the most baffling crime scenes in modern history. Chapter 3. Discovery. The camp was found abandoned. The tent? Torn open from the inside, as if they had fled. In panic. Boot prints led away from the site. Some barefoot, some wearing only socks. They led into the forest, and to death. 2 bodies were found near a fire, stripped to their underwear. 3 more were discovered sprawled in the snow, appearing to have frozen to death while trying to return to the tent. But it was the last 4 bodies, found months later under snow, that defied explanation. One had a crushed skull, another broken ribs with no external injuries, like being struck by a car. One woman was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips. There were no signs of struggle, no other footprints, just silence and snow. Chapter 4. Theories and Terror. The Soviet investigation concluded that a compelling natural force caused their deaths. But what kind of force could do this? An avalanche, deadly, fast, merciless. Infrasound, a low-frequency hum that causes terror and hallucinations. Soviet military testing. Radioactive traces were found on the clothes. Aliens. The orange glows in the sky. The strange injuries. No other explanation fits. Others believe in a more primal threat, something ancient lurking in the mountains. Mansi folklore tells of spirits that guard sacred places. Maybe they weren't just stories. Chapter 5. The Legacy. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved. In 2019, the Russian government reopened the case, only to again blame an avalanche. But experts disagree. The evidence doesn't add up, and the questions remain. Why did they flee half-dressed into lethal cold? What crushed bone without bruising? Who or what ripped their tent from the inside? What did they see? We may never know. But one thing is certain. Something unnatural happened that night on Dead Mountain. If you ever find yourself in the frozen north, standing under a clear night sky, and you hear the wind whisper your name, don't look back, don't run, and whatever you do, don't set up camp on the side of Kolatsyakhl. Villisca Axe Murders. America's most terrifying unsolved crime. There's a house in Iowa where time stopped in 1912, where 8 people were butchered in their sleep, and where no one, not even the dead, has truly rested since. They say you can hear the thud of an axe when the night falls silent. They say the walls whisper the names of the dead. And the killer? He was never caught. This is not fiction. This is not legend. This is the terrifying true story of the Villisca Axe Murders. June 10th, 1912. Villisca, Iowa. A small, tight-knit town where everyone knew each other, and everyone left their doors unlocked. That night, the Moore family, Josiah, his wife Sarah, and their 4 children, welcomed 2 young girls into their home. Lena and Ina Stillinger, friends of their daughter Catherine. They'd all been at the local church for a children's program. It ended around 9:30 p.m. By 10 p.m., the house was dark. No one would leave that house alive. Sometime between midnight and 5 a.m., someone entered the home. He or she picked up Josiah Moore's own axe from the backyard and began to kill. First Josiah, then Sarah, then the children one by one. Bludgeoned with such force their skulls were split. The killer went upstairs, then downstairs, then back upstairs, as if in a trance. He or she covered the victims' faces with bed sheets. Mirrors were covered. Strange ritual. And then, the killer vanished. That morning, a neighbor grew worried when no one emerged from the Moore house. She called Josiah's brother. When he stepped inside, he came back out pale and trembling. "There's someone murdered in every bed," he whispered. The town would never be the same again. The crime scene was unlike anything investigators had seen. All 8 victims, brutally murdered. Nothing stolen. Food on the kitchen table, untouched. A bowl of bloody water in the wash basin, and the axe, leaning against the wall, still wet. The killer had taken his time, wiped the blood from his hands, closed the curtains, vanished into the night. As days passed, theories exploded, and suspects emerged like shadows. 1. Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher. He attended the same church event that night, left town mysteriously, wrote disturbing letters about the murders, even confessed, twice, but then recanted. He was tried and acquitted. 2. Frank Jones, a powerful businessman. Josiah had worked for him, then left, taking business with him. Rumors swirled. Was this revenge? Could someone have been hired to kill? 3. A drifter, a serial killer, a demon. Some believed it was the work of a madman traveling by train. Others claimed it was part of a pattern. Similar killings had occurred in other towns. Some even whispered of dark rituals, or the devil himself. But no motive fit, no suspect stuck, and no one was ever convicted. Over a century has passed, and the house still stands. It has become one of America's most haunted homes. Visitors report disembodied voices, children's laughter, footsteps in empty rooms, doors opening by themselves, shadows darting across the hallway. And the axe? Some say it reappears, even when removed. Paranormal investigators, skeptics, psychics, they all leave changed. One visitor collapsed after hearing, "Mommy, he's here," whispered in her ear. Another swore he saw a man with no eyes watching from the upstairs bedroom. Even seasoned ghost hunters admit something evil is inside that house. Why did the killer cover the mirrors? Why kill the children last, if at all? Why linger, if not to admire the horror? What could cause such calm brutality? Was it personal, religious, supernatural? The truth is buried with the victims, and their killer walks free in the grave of history. Maybe long dead, or maybe never human to begin with. The house remains, waiting, watching. Still, would you spend a night there? Would you sleep in the same bed where a child was murdered, while something creaked slowly down the hallway? The Villisca Axe Murders remain one of the darkest unsolved cases in American history, and maybe some doors should never be opened.